Okay, you guys, so in order to be able to add or subtract fractions, and most of you know this already, you need to be able to find a common denominator, okay? Common denominator. So I want you to write this at the top of your paper. Make sure you have one. So in order to add or subtract fractions, you need to find a common denominator, right? So on your paper, we're going to draw ourselves a little graphic organizer, a little cloud, okay? So we're going to put common denominator in the middle to find a common denominator. Oop, that's a little too big. Let me fit mine a little bit better. Denominator. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is once you write that, we're going to actually do a little bit of vocab. And then we will give a couple of examples on how to find a common denominator. So we're going to have 3 pieces today. Okay, first we'll have some vocabulary, and then we'll learn how to find a common denominator. Most of you guys probably have seen this and know how to do it, but just in case, let's talk about some important vocabulary that you're going to have to know, right? The first thing is, what does common mean? Most of us have heard this word, and you can probably tell me in plain English, and that's fine. Okay, if somebody has something in common, they have something that is the same. Okay, for instance, if you have a common name, your name might be Michael and somebody else has it, that means they would have a common name. Okay, it's the same. And then what is denominator? Well, a lot of you guys have heard this word too. In fact, if I give you a fraction, something like 4/5, the denominator is the bottom number, right? And just to remind you, the top number is what we call the numerator. So we have the numerator and the denominator. So when we talk about our vocabulary and we're talking about a common denominator, we want to find or we want to make fractions that have the bottom number, the denominator, in common. That's what we want in common right there. Okay? We want that in common. We want that to be the same. Okay? And there's only 2 instances where you have to find the common denominator. You find them when you're adding, something like 4/5 plus 2/3. Okay? And then you can also find it when you are subtracting, something like 9/10 minus 3/6. Okay? So we're going to work on these problems, and then you guys will have an activity to do. But let's talk about a common denominator. The easiest way to look at this is we just need the tops or the bottoms to be the same. So if the bottoms are the same, then the tops are going to have to change a little bit. Okay? So the first thing that I like to do is we can make a list of multiples, right? So I know 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. I'm going to stop there. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. I don't see anything common yet, so I'm going to keep going. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. Okay, let's stop there. Let's go down here. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. I still don't see anything common, so let's keep going. And 3 times 5 is 15. Oh, I'm going to stop there. I see something that's in common. So that's what we're going to use. Okay? So let's do this. So for the first fraction, how do I make 5 into a 15? I multiply it 3 times. So I'm going to do this times 3, and I have to do the top times 3. Okay? Really, really important that you do that. Don't forget that piece. All right, let's do the second one. For a 3, how do I make that into a 15? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to multiply times 5 and times 5. All right, so now we have 4 times 3, 5 times 3, 2 times 5, 3 times 5. So let's finish this up. So my new answer is 12 over 15 plus 10 over 15. Now we have what we call a common denominator. So in order to find a common denominator, we have to list the multiples, and then we write this down. It'll help you, I promise, for your formative quick check. A common multiple, and then you make, or we're going to transform, sorry, not make, transform our numerators and denominators. We're going to change both of them. We're going to transform them. Okay? So those are our 3 steps. All right, the only other time you ever have to do this is when you're subtracting fractions. So let's do the same thing. We're going to list the multiples. So the multiples of 10 and 6. So I have 10 and 6 here. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 times 3 is 30. 10 times 4 is 40. 10 times 5 is 50. 10 times 6 is 60. 10 times 7 is 70. I can keep going and going. All right, let's do my 6's. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is, 18. Nothing in common yet. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. Uh-oh, I found one. Right here. 30. That's my common. And that's what we have to change everything to. So let's do it. Okay. So in this case, my 9, I know I need to multiply. I'm sorry, my 10, I know I need to multiply it by 3. Because of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to do times 3 here and times 3 here on the top. Okay, for my 6, I have to multiply it 1, 2, 3, 4 times 5. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 5. Let's rewrite this thing. Okay, 10 times 3 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30. Notice we have the same numbers on the bottom now. 9 times 3 is 27. 5 times 3 is 15. You notice the numbers are different on the top, on both of them, you see? But the bottom numbers are the same. That's all we need to be the same are the bottom numbers, okay? So make sure you have that stuff written down. This is really important and will help you when you get to your formative quick check today. You're going to need to know these 3 steps.